More accusations against the Clinton Foundation. A new report saying Bill Clinton aides used taxpayer funds to subsidize the family's foundation and to support Hillary Clinton's private email server. Now, they deny it. Also, a separate report saying a foundation worker asked the State Department under Hillary's watch for special diplomatic passports, a big no-no. Well, now even some Clinton supporters are saying the Clinton family, including Chelsea, should sever all ties with their charity. Are they right or wrong? Hi, everybody. I'm David Aswood. Welcome to Forbes on Fox. Let's go in focus with Mike Ozanian, Rich Karlgaard, Sabrina Schaefer, Bill Baldwin, and Bruce Japsen. What do you think, Sabrina?
You know, it's so interesting, David. When you actually look at some of the deeper poll numbers, you found some place like Pew Research found that more than 50% of Americans say that they actually know a lot about Hillary Clinton's policies. What people are uncomfortable with is sort of her trustworthiness, her honesty. And that's what's, really at the heart of this whole controversy, is that there's so much blurring of the lines between her time in public office and her the Clinton Foundation, which is a $2 billion foundation, and their business dealings. That is what is getting a lot of voters really uncomfortable to support her in November.
And even appearance of conflict is something you're supposed to avoid in these circumstances. And, Bruce, that's why even some of your liberal friends, like the New York Times editorial board, is saying the ties have to be cut. Achieving true distance, and I'm quoting from the Times, from the foundation is not only necessary to ensure its effectiveness, it is an ethical imperative for Mrs. Clinton. That's pretty strong stuff.
Well, the thing of it is, in about paragraph 3 of all these stories about the emails and the Clinton Foundation, they say that they did nothing illegal and so forth. And I realize that, you're going to get investigations and all this other stuff. But the Clinton Foundation has done billions of dollars worth of good, and to wind it down quickly. Matter of fact, it did good for Trump because he gave him $100,000, and it's the only way we know he did any, or one of the only ways we know he did any charitable work, because he doesn't release his tax return.
Well, hold on a second. He's done other charitable work, particularly with the veterans, and particularly with the veterans. But, Rich, let me go to another issue again. This may not be against the law, but it's the appearance of conflict of interest. This Politico article talking about how Bill Clinton used a lot of money from taxpayers, $16 million, for a president's fund, something that presidents are entitled to dip into after they're president, to pay off staff members of the Clinton Foundation. Politico was the one that came out with that story. Clinton has denied, by the way, an interesting fact of that story, that perhaps one of the servers that Hillary Clinton used was paid for by taxpayers. They say no GSA funding was ever used for a private email server anywhere. Sort of reminds me of what he said about Monica Lewinsky. I did not have sex with that woman anytime,
Yeah, viewers should know that this fund we're talking about was started in the 1950s to keep ex-presidents out of poverty. Harry Truman was living pretty close to the financial edge, and specifically to avoid presidents doing unseemly things. Well, Bill Clinton has used this fund to a fare thee well, far more than any other ex-president. 10 people, are getting dipping into this. 10 staffers are getting funded from money that's supposed to go to Bill Clinton, and money is going to Bill Clinton. And then IT equipment like servers. So, yeah, is it technically illegal? I guess we'll find out. But it sure reeks of the Clintons just having this entitlement that is beyond any ex-president.
All right, there's another reek here, Mike, which is the reek of crony capitalism and extending overseas. There's a Swedish branch of the Clinton Foundation that the State Department didn't even know about. It was kind of like a shell office. We looked at their 990 form to find it here in Stockholm. No staff members there. It's used as a pass-through for Swedish companies that want to give money to the Clinton Foundation but don't want it to be publicized that much. And it adds up to a lot of money. $28 million went from the Swedish version of the Clinton Foundation to the U.S. version. Now, the thing about this all happened at a time when Swedish companies were being investigated for violating the Iranian embargo. Companies that were doing big business with Iran. And it was interesting. About the same time they got all this money from the Swedish interests, they dropped the investigation at the State Department. Coincidence?
Is there any doubt, David, that the Clinton Foundation is about pay for play? Not in my mind. But as far as Hillary Clinton's election goes, the worst thing I think she could do at this point is to remove herself, her husband, and her daughter from ties, because that will therefore being tied to it previously when she was Secretary of State.
But there's all this information coming out now about that, Mike.
I think if she removes herself from this, it will admit that everything that she did while she was Secretary of State was unethical. I think it was, but it will just make that fact. I think what would be far more helpful was if the foundation started to give out more than 10% of its donations to charities. That would be something good.
By the way, you were the one who talked about pay for play a couple of weeks ago, so we should mention that. Bill, somebody mentioned the views of the American people, which are not insignificant. 66% of Americans believe that it's likely that the Clintons were using the Clinton Foundation to sell influence while Hillary was Secretary of State.
Well, I figured out that 34% of Americans don't follow the news. No, actually, perversely enough, I don't think the Clintons should sever ties to the foundation. I think that would just give an aura of legitimacy to the thing. It might make it look like it's somewhat honest charity. Far better that it be left the way it is as an overt pay to play. Next, what we need, perhaps, is a neon sign in the White House saying Lincoln bedroom for rent starting January 21st.
Well, at the very least, Sabrina, the Clinton Foundation is a very strange animal. It's kind of a hard to define thing. By the way, Mike mentioned 10% goes to charities, but they have a lot of internal operations, and that's why their expenses are so high, why their travel fees are $50 million a year, because a lot of their staff goes actually out to things. They were very proud of what they did in Haiti. They had a terrible earthquake in Haiti back in 2010. The Clinton State Department and the Clinton Foundation both teamed together to do operations to try to help. But it involved, again, these charges of crony capitalism. People like Hillary Clinton's brother was involved in some gold mine venture that never panned out. Cheryl Mills, who was the chief of staff for Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State, she was also on the board of the Clinton Foundation before and after she was chief of staff. She has a husband, or at least a partner, the father of her children, who's involved in ventures that were suggested in one email that we know to Hillary Clinton by Cheryl Mills that a group like his be involved in Haiti. And she said, great idea. Let's work towards solid proposal, maybe to Red Cross and Clinton Foundation, since they have unencumbered money. And that's the problem. I mean, you just can't follow a lot of this stuff.
Right, that's exactly it, David. And I think that's what a lot of the American people are responding to. You know, back to that survey research, we know that more than 50% of Americans have said now that they don't think that Hillary Clinton will change business as usual here in Washington. And I think that the foundation is a perfect example of that. They may be doing some good. I don't have enough information to say that they are not. But what is clear is that we don't really know how things are operating. And that's the thing that most Americans are responding to. They say, we want something to change here in Washington. This was supposed to be an outsider, non-establishment election, and here it is that we have, once again, Hillary Clinton leading in the polls.
Bruce, doesn't at least the appearance of conflict bother you in some of these cases?
No, I think when she's president, I mean, she will not be involved and he will not be involved, and I think that's happened.
But how do you know that? When she was Secretary of State, they claimed they wouldn't get involved, and they did.
Yeah, but
countries like Algeria were giving money that they shouldn't have given, and I mean, there were all sorts of bad things that happened with the Clinton Foundation that weren't supposed to happen when she was Secretary of State. What happens when she's president?
There's a lot of documented good that they've done with fighting AIDS, fighting malaria, and like over behind me is the city of Chicago. I know a little bit about pay for play, not personally, but you can't swing a dead cat here without hitting a governor or an alderman that's gone to jail over it. I don't think it's
all right. Certainly, as far as Chicago goes, it seems like business as usual at the Clinton Foundation.